became for one glorious day a sanctuary for spiritual healing and prayer. Now it is to be revealed to all the world that healing is a simple, natural practice, devoid of all rituals and ceremonies. The people ceased their aimless wandering, gathered around and listened. A multitude of the curious, the puzzled, and the hopeful. This is the most significant day in the history of spiritual healing. The day when healers took their faith and their truth and demonstrated them in the heart of the world's biggest city. Healers have no dogma to preach. They are not concerned with converting from one religion to another, nor do they ask how a patient worships, or whether he or she worships at all. The patient's only qualification for the service of a healer is that he or she has a sickness. A clear blue sky gave a final blessing on a venture of which it was said would not be a credit to its truths or its followers. The President of the National Federation of Spiritual Healers, Mr. Harry Edwards, explaining that he, like all spiritual healers, is merely an instrument for a higher intelligence, invites people with conditions which can be demonstrated to come forward.
Then shall the eyes of the blind be opened, and the ears of the deaf unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap and run, and the tongue of the dumb shall sing.
Every spiritual healer accepts the fact that all medical practitioners play a vital part in the healing of the sick. They do not believe that the world can do without these dedicated men and women. The healer merely wishes to stand alongside the medical man and administer God's healing power whenever orthodox medicine and man's limited knowledge fails. This lady suffers from arthritis in the spine and legs. The spine, which has been completely stiff for 40 years, was within a few moments completely free. Next, turning to the ankle, which has been locked for 30 years, Mr. Edwards has this working freely within a matter of seconds. The next case, Mr. Ewens, has suffered arthritis very badly in the legs and the ankles, which have been completely locked for many years. These conditions, naturally, have made walking an extremely painful business and have greatly restricted his movements for some years. Within seconds, natural free movement is returned to the limbs. Often it is asked, are there any diseases which cannot be cured by spiritual healing? Whilst admittedly there are people who have failed to respond to healing, everywhere there is evidence to prove that every disease has responded to healing at one time or another. This gentleman has had a slipped disc for many years, and within seconds the healing power flows, and the condition gives way to free, painless movement. It is sometimes, though wrongly believed, that a sufferer must have complete, unwavering faith to bring about a cure, as a form of creeping paralysis from which the patient rarely recovers. Billy cannot lift his arms or his legs. Some weeks after treatment, he began showing signs of improvement. For instance, he was using his arms. These signs have been noticed by the doctors. One cannot help wondering just how much faith a child has in a complete stranger. Here is a case of poliomyelitis, a boy who was stricken at the age of 3. He can only walk with the aid of crutches and a caliper. This was taken off to administer treatment, and a little time afterwards, the boy David was able to discard his leg iron. But it was still necessary to use the crutches because the muscles of the leg had deteriorated over the years, and more time would be needed to restore the wasted tissue. This young lady has arthritis in practically every bone in her body. Badly affected are the hands, arms, knees, and the neck. Whilst some relief was experienced by this patient, obviously further treatment was necessary as much of the condition was extremely deep-seated. Is a case of a curvature of the spine, a condition going right back to childhood, and because of this, regular treatment over a period of time will be necessary to bring about an improvement or a cure. Were so completely affected by arthritis that the lady remarked that if anyone so much as touched her hands, she would start screaming. Here is further proof that spiritual healing is administered without any discomfort or pain to the patient. Miracles are not accepted by spiritual healers, but this next case can be described as almost miraculous. This lady has suffered from a goiter for 12 years. The throat is full with swollen glands on both sides of the neck. The hands of the healer deftly massage the swollen mass, and within a few moments all that remains of the goiter are empty folds of loose skin. After the demonstration, many more were still waiting to receive the healing power. And this was the moment when 24 white-coated healers took over from the president. 24 chairs were placed on the stone floor of Trafalgar Square, and the people came forward, obviously moved and impressed by what they had seen, and urged forward by the inborn hope that they also may be at last relieved of the pain or the infirmity that had been a burden for many years, or perhaps a lifetime. Many people left Trafalgar Square that day, amazed and happy for their visit to London's famous thoroughfare, and to the men and women with healing in their hands. What of the cures themselves? Are they lasting, or are they but fleeting moments, after which the healed will again waken to the same grey world of pain and useless limbs? To find the answer, we visited 3 patients many weeks after their treatment. And here is David, the boy who was treated for poliomyelitis during the demonstration. Spiritual healing is not a demonstration of miracles, but the operation of God-made laws.
I'm feeling fine these days. There's been a big improvement in my leg, and there's one person who likes it most of all, and that's Blackie. Blackie is my dog. For now I can take him for much longer walks in the park. Recently, I've been walking without my caliper. This I find much easier, because it is much less in weight, and therefore I can walk much further, and much quicker too. I'm only waiting for the day when I can disregard them altogether. I'm pleased I took that journey on which Sunday to Trafalgar Square to see her Edwards. I'll never forget that day, as long as I live.
Next, we visited Mr. Ewens, who was treated for arthritis in the knees and ankles. Slowly but truly, the twilight world of the sick and the lonely is growing brighter as the work of the spiritual healer goes steadily on, often meeting adversity, but facing it with renewed effort and the resolution that the sick will not suffer.
Well, I must say I'm feeling much better now, and I feel that since I've had this spiritual healing, that I have improved in health. I'm able to go about much better, walk easier, and then I clean the windows, and then I go and do my wife's shopping, and I do the household chores, which I haven't done for a long time, and muck about in general.
Finally, we went to see a little Billy, the baby with arms he could not lift, and of whom the doctors had said had only 1 year to live. The voice of his mother pays tribute to the work of the healers.
Since Billy Brian's been having healing, he seems to be much better in himself, and he also seems to move his arms and legs much better than he ever could before, and the pain that he gets seems to have gone completely. Also, he seems to have a much greater interest in life than previously, and I shall never regret taking Billy Boy to Trafalgar Square.
Often it is asked if these improvements are not achieved through suggestion, hypnosis, or blind faith. The healing of any sickness, the giving of movement to hitherto useless limbs, must originate from an intelligence and organization of absolute perfection, greater than that known to man. The delightful old world village of Shear is the home of the president, Mr. Harry Edwards, a man who has given virtually an entire lifetime to healing the sick, a man whose inspired leadership has opened nearly 2,000 hospital doors to spiritual healers. Literally thousands of people have been received and treated at his famous sanctuary at Shear.
This is Harry Edwards, speaking from the Sanctuary of Healing at Shear. It is our great joy to be the means of giving easement and freedom from disease to those who are sick through the gift of spiritual healing. More we can never give any promise in advance. We rejoice to see healing come to so many. There is no known disease that cannot be helped to some degree through the power of spiritual healing. The source of spiritual healing is divine and is God's gift to all his children, irrespective of the race or